Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I have some very exciting news. So for those of you who don't know, I've been working towards an equine science certificate through Guelph University, and I'm only 2 courses short of getting that certificate, so I should be getting it by the fall, hopefully. And I just took their advanced equine behavior course to kind of top up the knowledge that I already had from taking their other equine behavior course. So I was feeling pretty inspired and I decided to just go for it and go apply for a certified equine behavior consultant certificate through IAABC, which is International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, and it's a pretty well-known organization and they have a pretty intensive application process. So I was really nervous. I worked on it for like 2 months and just decided to go for it and send it in because I was just getting so much anxiety, and I just got back my acceptance a few days ago. So that's very exciting, and something I'm really looking forward to, and I'm going to continue pursuing my education in the equine science realm. And yeah, so it's really awesome. I just wanted to share that, and so thank you for watching. Right now, my title is just Certified Equine Behavior Consultant. If I want to become a behaviorist, I have to go and get my master's in animal behavior, which is something I might still consider doing. But for now, this is it, and I'm looking forward to finishing my certificate as well. Also, I have tons of saddle pad colors in my store. There's lots available and they all come in jumper or dressage pads. And then also our remaining peacock and evergreen pads, which are the evergreen dressage pad and peacock jump pad. Those are on sale now for $10 off. So I highly recommend checking them out and check out my new colors. I'm super excited about them. So I haven't featured Milo on my channel in quite some time because he's been going through ulcer treatment and some other stuff, and he's now done his ulcer treatment, so I'm starting him back into work. But since he does have a locking stifle, he tends to have a weakness in his hind end after time off, so I'm gradually building up his work, and he also needs to lose some weight. So we're just kind of working on fun stuff like the target training. This is what I do before I get on him and actually ride, and he really likes it because he gets rewards for it, and I use pretty low calorie rewards because I only use the alfalfa pellets. So this is just kind of some playtime that we're having. He's having to learn this new target because it's a different color than the one that I initially trained him on, so he's a little bit slower to react than what he might typically be with the target that he knows. But it's just some fun stuff to work on, and I'm working on it with him because I'm hoping to be able to do some liberty work with him and Banksy together in the future, but they both need a lot more practice and self-control before they go and do exciting stuff together. So yeah, Milo's just working on some easy stuff, and I'm working on getting him back into shape and strengthening up his stifle again before we get into some really serious training. But he's been doing really well, and his feet have been doing phenomenally. So I'll be doing an update on his transition to barefoot in the future once he's done his last couple of cycles of trims. So with Banksy, I'm working on a lot of groundwork stuff. We've been practicing standing beside the mounting block just to teach him how to target the mounting block and stand nicely. He's not getting backed this year as he's only going to be 2, and that is very, very young to back a warm blood. So I'm just teaching him how to target the mounting block and just stand beside it because this requires absolutely no physical output on his part. And it's just teaching him how to station at the mounting block, which is a really good tool to have. And it gives me something fun to work on him within the arena, which is what he needs to do, and we like to trade up what we kind of do on each day so that he doesn't get bored of it. So that's what I'm working on with him right now. I hold the target just to encourage him to stand in that position and keep his nose near the target, and then I also just reward any static behavior because I am teaching him how to target and stand at the mounting block as a standing station. So he really likes this because he gets rewarded, and then it's just going to make the mounting block a fun place and not a place of anxiety, so that when I do eventually back him in the next year or 2, he will just stand beside the mounting block, and it's not going to be a production or anything, and there's not going to be anxiety associated with it. And this is earlier than what I would need to start him on stuff like this. from the standpoint of actually learning the behavior, but since it doesn't require him to be physically mature because he's not packing any weight or doing any hard work, it's not going to hurt him to start on this. So it's just something fun to work on him with, to have a bit of change in scenery. And starting out, I have him in the halter. We've done this quite a bit at Liberty as well, but I was doing some groundwork in the halter first. So he's wearing the halter, but he just has his rope draped around his neck. So the standing there is his own. And what I'm trying to do is just teach him how to stand at the mounting block without any pressure associated with it. And naturally, since he's young, he does kind of wiggle around and move a little bit, but mostly the work is just getting him comfortable with me standing above him, because that does scare some horses. It's never really bothered him, but it's just practice that's good to teach him to stand here. I decided to take his halter off because it gives me like the most natural reading of how comfortable he is, because he can just leave at any point if he so chooses, which is really great. So that's what I'm working on him with here, is just at Liberty, and then rewarding him for standing and gradually building duration. So as he gets better at this, I won't reward him on as frequent of a reinforcement schedule, but since he's still green to it, I praise him a lot. And then there I was just kind of looking over his back in the way that you would when you're bellying over, but not putting weight on him, because both of my feet are still on the ground. And it's just getting him used to movement above him and whatnot, and kind of practicing the sound of feet shuffling around on the mounting block and all of that fun stuff. And as you can see here, he's being really good, and he doesn't really seem too nervous at all. He's pretty happy to stand here. When I start bouncing, you can tell that he gets a little bit nervous because his head comes up and he's a little bit unsure. And in parts of this video, you might even notice where he's kind of thinking of shifting his feet but doesn't. And what I try to do in these cases, if he looks like he's about to move, I try to reward before he actually moves, so that I'm praising the still behavior without him making a mistake first. And since he's less comfortable with me bouncing on the mounting block, I reinforce it more quickly. And there he got nervous, so I encouraged him back with the target, and then wait a second, and then bounce for a shorter period of time, and then reward, but he gets distracted by another horse, so he's kind of looking off into the distance. And then I just kind of have to wait to recapture his focus and encourage him to come back towards the target, but he didn't move his feet, so this is still really great. And then as I bounce more, you can see that he's starting to get more comfortable with it, and he's not feeling the need to increase distance or look at me more cautiously. He's just listening. And since I have my tool belt on with all the treats, it's actually quite noisy when I'm jumping up and down. Along with the sound of me jumping on the mounting block, there's a flapping sound. So it's a bit more scary, but the good thing is that it kind of mimics the sound that jackets and whatnot would make when you were pretending to get on a horse or when you're bellying over. Since Banksy is young, I don't like to work on stuff that requires him to be focused and super still for too long. So we're going to our target training now, which he loves, and he gets a little too excited sometimes. So what I try to do with this is reward the calm behaviors before he starts kind of getting silly and full of himself and trying to play, because I'm trying to encourage calm behaviors and not have it be such an exciting, high energy game where he feels the need to play. And also what I'm working on with this target is that this is an extending target stick. So it's quite long. It's over 6 feet long when it's fully extended. And I'm just trying to start to get him used to building distance away from me, since when I first target trained him, he was used to quite a short stick. So he likes to basically be attached at my hip. And now I'm just trying to encourage him to get further away from me, because for Liberty work, this will be safer for me, and that it'll also offer him the chance to play a little bit without being immediately in my space. The nice thing about a longer target stick too is that I can start to ask him to go through the puddles, because as you'll see coming up here, he often tries to avoid going directly through the puddles and just walk exactly where I'm walking, which I don't love. So that's why I'm kind of working on getting him comfortable being away from me, because right there, yeah, he tried to just walk directly behind me, which is not what I want. And then here, this is what he does when he's playing, but if he plays out of my space, this is not something I'm going to get mad at him for at all. And then when he comes back to me, I reward that, because that's what I want him to do. And since he's young, Playing is to be expected, especially when he's working, and I don't want to curb that behavior completely because he does need the chance to play to kind of self-soothe and relieve any frustration or excitement that builds up during training. So that's why I'm working with the longer target stick, because when we're doing liberty work in the future, I want to give him a means where he kind of has a radius that he's allowed to play in, so if he so chooses, because he needs to retain some personality and be able to have fun in training, but within reason and within a safe place. I like using the target stick to get him to follow me up to objects or over objects. I don't jump him because I don't want him jumping at this age, but there's these tiny little trot poles set up that I had set up for Milo, and then a really small half X, so he can just step over them like a raised trot pole. So I'm kind of just getting him to follow me over them here so that he has the choice, and sometimes he just investigates stuff along the side, which is okay, so I kind of just wait for him to give me his attention again, and then he follows, and then I reward because he did exactly what I was wanting him to do, which is go over the obstacle. So good boy, that was awesome, proud of him. To keep sessions short and sweet, so I don't work with him on these things for too long, especially if he's being pretty good. So I was finished here, and then he decides to try to attack my pivot, which wasn't very nice, but luckily he went away from it when I yelled at him to not attack the pivot, and then he came right back to me, so I reward that. And then since we're done, I'm haltering him here because that's that, and I'm super proud of him. Such a good boy. I love working with him when he's paying attention to me. He's getting a lot more energy and kind of a bit sillier as he ages, but he's doing really well with working on focus work and kind of learning self-control even when he's feeling full of himself, which is fantastic. So good boy, Banksy.